The world of League of Legends brought out empires whose story tells of heroes and their selfless deeds. Honorable warriors and self-sacrificing combatants find honor and glory in all realms of Runeterra. But there's one kingdom that values money, power and fame above moral values and handles laws as guidelines at most. This is the history of Bilgewater. A religious archipelago. When immigrants sailed westward from a far eastern continent many thousand years ago, they found themselves at the shores of Shurima and Valoran. They would begin to establish settlement throughout the western continents. Eager to learn and magically gifted, these people would start magnificent civilizations. One group reached a chain of isles now known as the Serpent Isles. Those who settled there developed a strong religious community whose highest value was the willpower of the individual. Worshipping the godlike spirit Nagakeburos, these Buru grew into a strong folk living in harmony with the living currents of the world. The Harrowing. About 1,000 years ago, an unspeakable misfortune befell the nearby Blessed Isles. Viego, king of Camavor, sought a way to revive his long-dead wife and learned of the sacred chain of islands. Upon arriving there, he turned against the local scholars and attempted to bring his wife back using magic unknown to him. In the process, he unleashed a magical explosion that destroyed the Blessed Isles, placing them in a state between death and life. Over time, the restless souls of these Shadow Isles began to periodically spread across the sea, adding the souls of the living to the mist surrounding the islands. When the mist finally became powerful enough to reach the Serpent Isles, they become the annual target of the so-called Harrowing. Once a year, an army of restless spirits, led by Hecarim and his Iron Order, would roam the sea to gather new souls on the Serpent Isles. The Buru used their magical abilities to develop artifacts and spells to defend them against this horror, thus protecting their people and the islands from complete annihilation. The founding of Bilgewater. Over the centuries, adventurers and fortune seekers reached the Serpent Isles, and some choose to stay. The Buru named these outsiders Pelangi and granted them refuge in the southern island base. With the founding of Piltover almost 200 years ago, Runeterra's economic boom reached a peak. The shortening of maritime trade routes through the Sun Gates in the City of Progress accelerated and simplified trade between East and West to an indescribable degree. This also led to a flurry of activity on the Serpent Isles. The chain of islands lay east of the river delta and thus became an integral part of many trade routes. The local Pelangi took advantage of this and built a port city that could benefit from the progress of the world around them. The King of Pirates. With the independence of the Serpent Isles from all other nations, Bilgewater developed into a port city that plays by its own rules. More and more smugglers, privateers and the like found a home port here for their wheeling and dealing. One man managed to gain particularly significant influence in these circles. Captain Gangplank was a brutal, ruthless and merciless pirate. As leader of the Jagged Hooks, he spread terror throughout Bilgewater and the waters surround the Serpent Isles. He became particularly known for his merciless torture and execution of those who disobeyed, both within and outside his crew. Burning Tides. The Pirate King's rule was a thorn in the side of many, but no one could oppose him. However, one person in the port city grew up with the goal of overthrowing Gangplank. Sarah was the daughter of the famous weapons manufacturer Abigail Fortune. As a child, she watched as Gangplank tried to kill her and her parents and destroy the workshop. After escaping with her mother's weapons, she grew up driven by revenge into a strong, self-confident bounty hunter. Sarah managed to confront Gangplank during the execution of two mercenaries she had hired herself. At the climax of the conflict, she was able to put her plan into action and blow up the Pirate King together with his ship. With Gangplank's death, chaos erupted in Bilgewater, and the bounty hunters seized the opportunity to bring to justice anyone who remained loyal to the defeated pirate. Sarah Fortune's influence in Bilgewater grew, and she became the port city's new leading figure. The return of the ruined king. While Sarah attempts to unite the gangs of Bilgewater, another premature harrowing occurs. She seeks counsel from the Buru priestess Ilawi. The two gather the Iceborn Brom, the Vasani Ari, the Ronin Yasu and the Undead Pike to investigate the growing mist. The crew learns that Gangplank survived with the help of Ilawi, his former lover, and has allied himself with a spirit on the Shadow Isles named Thrash to reawaken Viego and reclaim Bilgewater. With the resurrection of Camavor's king and his alliance with the presumed dead Pirate King, the crew find itself forced to confront him in battle to save Bilgewater. They succeeded in sealing Viego in an old amulet, but Gangplank escaped. While Sarah pursues both her new and her old goal of uniting Bilgewater and finally bringing down Gangplank, Ilawi searched for a way to get rid of the ruined king forever. However, she was betrayed and robbed of the amulet, which was handed over to Thresh on the Shadow Isles. In Bilgewater, laws and rules are nothing but words, but the port city now faces the opportunity to reform under a new leadership. But just as important as whether Bilgewater is ready to change is the question of whether Sarah can put aside her grudge and anger, or whether she will lose herself on her path to revenge. What do you think of Bilgewater's story, and do you believe Sarah will find inner peace to lead the city to new heights? Let me know in the comments, and please leave a like if you enjoyed the video. On my channel you will find more videos about the oldest stories in League of Legends and an overview of the most important events in Runeterra. If you don't want to miss anything, hit subscribe and ring the bell. Thank you for your attention and interest in the world of League of Legends, and maybe I'll see you in the next video.